What is going on, everyone? Let me fix that camera real quick. That's going to be bothering the crap out of me. So, what is going on, everyone? Mystic from Mystical Tomes here. Today we're going to be doing a reaction of Vita Carnis. I didn't know what it was about, so I'm going to give you a quick backstory on that. Vita Carnis is an analog horror series which was created by Canadian surrealist Darian Quilloy. The series tells the story about a strange meat-like creatures that start appearing in the 1930s, possibly due to the cult activity. We all love cult activity, don't we? The organisms appear to be from Earth. However, an extraterrestrial origin is not ruled out. So, without further ado, we're going to watch and have a reaction about the whole entire series of it from Darian Quilloy himself. So, if you guys enjoy my reaction, you enjoy my feedback, you enjoy my whole entire holistic fucking 2 cents on this thing, and what the actual realism about this kind of situation would be if we actually had meat-like creatures, like, doing whatever, then please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and bell notification in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And as always, let's get started.
On planet Earth, life has thrived for millions of years. Creatures big and small have found ways to adapt and evolve to flourish in all types of environments. From barren wastes to lush forests, life can be found. Earth has homed these creatures since the dawn of life itself. Only until very recently, things have changed. New life forms have appeared all around the globe.
I will say within like the first minute of this video, it does give me almost like an SCP kind of like debrief kind of video. It's almost kind of like one of those things. That's one of the real reasons I'm already enjoying this video, and I also really like it also has like the static VHS backdrop or back overlay or whatever you want to call it in the background, so it almost looks like an old VHS like kind of tape. That's what I really like about it.
Globe and completely changing the balance of nature and what we know about evolution itself. That is why we, at National Living Meat Research, have been studying these new species, trying to help educate everyone about these creatures and their wondrous ways of life. First, what are these new life forms? Since their explosive arrival across the globe in 1931, there has been much debate on what these newcomers are, and where they came from. Are they extraterrestrials coming to invade Earth? Or are they demons who come from hell to purge humanity? From what our scientists have discovered, no. The origins of these creatures are solely to Earth, miraculously out of nowhere. We don't know why or how, but one thing is for certain, Earth is now their home. What these creatures...
One thing that really bothers me is that they just get discovered in the 1930s and just miraculously just sprout out of the ground. That's what the guy just said. It just miraculously showed up in the 1930s. There's no history or evolutionary chart of these things. They just magically popped out of just imagination in the 1930s. And that's terrifying to think about because there's no evolutionary like ancestry to where these creatures were and how they started and where they originated at. It just popped up in the 1930s.
Creatures are as mysterious and still not well known today. But here's what we do know. These creatures are comprised mainly of muscle tissue, organs, and bones.
Ew.
They greatly resemble animals with no skin, or store-bought meat. Because of these characteristics, they have been named accordingly as Vita Carnis. The Carnis species consume decaying, organic matter, but their main diet is composed of raw meat, not including their Carnis relatives. The Carnis only appear in places where...
So they basically said that they're also, but not limited to, their other non-Carnis families or their families. So they're, what, cannibalistic in nature too? And they also eat dead living flesh? That's
where there is an
terrifying.
abundance of crawl, which leads to the first creature of the Carnis species, the crawl. The crawl is a growth of meaty tendrils that closely resemble the small intestine, the only difference being a dark red coloration. These tendrils grow in a similar pattern as vines, mold, or fungi. A primary stem structure is the host to divisions of other.
That is nasty looking. It looks like the frickin' little fibers and the little frickin' veiny substances in your lungs and everywhere else in the human body. But yeah, it looks absolutely terrifying to even think about. You see something overgrowing like that, becoming fungus, freaking mold, other stuff like this. This kind of meaty, kind of veiny substance, that looks terrifying. That's just terrifying to think about. All of a sudden, everything's just sprouting. It looks like a giant bloodbath and everything, or a giant veiny substance.
Smaller branches. In each tendril contains a variety of veins, arteries, and other similar organs used to transport nutrients absorbed from its surroundings. The ends of these tendrils are equipped with organelles used to absorb water and organic matter necessary for growth. The source of these organic materials is mainly found in dirt and soil on surrounding surfaces. Using its root-like tendrils, it absorbs the material and processes it into usable energy, although the krill also obtains energy through another means. Using a sophisticated form of photosynthesis, the dark pigmentation of the smaller branches is ideal for absorbing sunlight, and therefore allowing solar energy to fuel the krill's growth. Because of its efficiency, it thrives in almost all types of environments, easily allowing it to spread across the world.
Just a mild inconvenience of it growing everywhere. It doesn't matter what the climate or what the temperature is or what the freaking humidity or any of that stuff is. This thing just grows everywhere. It's almost like Scotch broom. Grows anywhere. If anyone's lived in the Pacific Northwest, we're infested with it. And I'm just trying to think of being infested with a long freaking veiny kind of stuff that's built like this, but it's everywhere. Not only does it eat dead, decaying flesh, or drinks water, or absorbs nutrients for the earth, it also freaking absorbs sunlight, and it goes anywhere. So it's just like, Jesus, man. Hopefully it's not harmful to humans. Hopefully it's not.
And can be found pretty much anywhere. Its recent inclusion in the ecosystem has caused many major changes in nature's balance. One may assume that the krill's presence may outcompete any other competitors, but due to its unique life cycle, where old branches fall off and decay into nutrient-rich compost, all forms of life seemingly flourish instead. The krill's abundance grants plenty of nourishment to all animals, from plants feeding on the decayed krill, herbivores thriving on increased plant population, and carnivores feeding on both the abundant prey, and are able to eat the krill as well.
Okay.
The presence of all these animals leave behind waste, which will be broken down and consumed by the krill, and the cycle begins again. This form of symbiosis leads to an environment where all populations thrive. Humanity also uses the krill to our advantage. Because of the supernatural rate of growth and its richness in nutrients, it has been sustainably cultivated into domestic farms.
Okay, well that just answers my question. We can use it for a domesticated farm. Okay, that makes sense. Domesticating farming, I mean, so long as it doesn't, attack you, I think we're going pretty good in the right direction, you know what I mean? It's not going to attach it to ourselves and turn us into, what is the SCP that I'm thinking of? Like the living flesh or the flesh of hate or whatever that one is, where it's like you get a rash and you slowly start turning it from inside out, and then any kind of slightest movement, the freaking whatever used to be human freaking starts attacking shit. But if it's like this and it's just cultivating and being, for domestic farming, it should be fine.
The krill is harvested and processed into fertilizer, which greatly increases crop yield and quality. The krill may also be used as a food source for humans, and reliably so. But due to its unkindly appearance and taste, it has yet to reach cuisine standards.
That makes sense.
The krill also plays a very important role in the next creatures that we have been studying. Sometimes, in a krill-populated environment, a node of meat may develop on one of the branches. This node will fall off and grow into a functioning organism, and go to live on as an independent animal. This leads us to the upcoming species that we will be discussing. The first of these creatures are the trimmings.
Trimmings.
The trimmings.
Okay.
Trimmings are small animals that resemble skinned raccoons. They are commonly known to have a plump body, round head, small eyes, nose and ear holes, and an agape mouth. They are also equipped with a diversity of limbs. All individual trimmings are unique, each with a different body shape, number of limbs, and other characteristics. One thing they all share in common is that they are made mostly of meat tissue and are a maximum of 20 centimeters in length, no larger than a basketball.
That's still kind of terrifying to think about, because if they're the size of a basketball, are they going to grow any more? Are they hostile towards humans? Do they attack dogs and cats, or like local wildlife, or farm life? All giant questions I have in my mind, but let's proceed.
Its life starts with its separation from the crawl. It will wonder to find anything that is edible and able to consume. Although it is an omnivore, being able to hunt meat and forage for plant matter, trimmings are almost entirely scavengers. Their diet consists of rotting plants and meat, including, but not limited to, fruits, vegetables, roots, seeds, insects, and deceased animals. Although its appearance is unsightly,
I couldn't imagine going through a dark building that's been completely cleared out, just an abandoned building, and you're trying to do like one of those, random nauticking, or you're trying to go and, you're just trying to, go explore like an abandoned exploration and stuff, and you come across one of those things. Now, if they're not aggressive towards humans and they're just scavengers can still attack you. And that's scary to think about. If you just flash your flashlight and all of a sudden you hit that thing right there with light, I'm like, no. I don't care how big it is. I don't care if it can have hurt me or not. I'm not going to be there. That's just me, though. But if you can domesticate them, hey, I don't have a problem with that. If they're not hostile towards humans, fine, fuck it, whatever.
it is a cowardly creature, only fleeing, screeching, and hiding when threatened. Because of its lack of defensive traits, it lies near the bottom of the food chain, making it easily overpowered and picked off very regularly by predators. Naturally, its population would eventually die out, but this is not the case. The crow constantly produces a large quantity of trimming nodes, keeping up their numbers. Naturally, trimmings can be found wherever there is abundant crawl. Trimmings grow at a decent pace, reaching maturity at around 7 months, having a maximum lifespan of 2 to 4 years.
Oh, that's sad.
Although they are plentiful, humanity has no proper way to implement trimmings into society. Their overabundance has even considered them pests, due to them digging through trash bins and making excessive noise at night. Besides all of this, some people still keep trimmings as pets, and relatively domesticate them. Nuisance or not, trimmings are a wondrous creature. From their plentiful numbers, to their skittish nature, they are truly a thing to behold.
So that just brings into another point. I mean, if there's no way to roll them into society's, fold, and they're deemed as a pest just because they make excessive noise, which I can understand. A lot of people can't handle excessive noise unless you're on a farm, or you're out in the sticks and stuff, and you can just make as much noise as you want, or, I don't know, I'm running out of freaking explanations and examples. But, I mean, I could see why they say they're a pest at the same time. They're not that bad to look at. It's just the face. It looks like a human face, just kind of opened up a little bit, a little too gory for my taste. So I couldn't really stare at them. They're not very pleasant to the eye. Hopefully, and I say hopefully, we're not going to have any more scary shit on here. Hopefully.
The next species on our list is the meat snake.
Never mind.
The meat snake. The meat snake is a worm-like creature, made of a variety of types of meat, coated in a transparent, skin-like membrane.
That's nasty.
Its size varies during its lifespan, depending on how much it consumes. When it first separates from the crawl, it is only a few centimeters in length.
That's like a leech from fucking hell, dude. I'm sorry. That literally looks like a leech from fucking hell. Instead of just a normal body, you have like this giant maw that has whatever that thing sticking out of the center of the mouth is. And if it says it's a transparent skin, it looks like basically a vegetable roll from hell, and it grows however big. So you got to imagine that. It could be anywhere from the size of a bus possibly, because I don't know how big they get. You got to actually put that into consideration, because it gets that small, and how much dead flesh it probably eats, it probably gets pretty damn big.
Eventually, it will reach an average length of 5 meters.
Oh, so
although,
pretty big.
Under extreme conditions, like natural disasters, war, or plague, it can greatly surpass this length. The meat snake's diet consists entirely of dead animals or parts. A meat snake is incapable of consuming a healthy, living organism. The meat snake locates its food by using a tongue-like organ covered in sensors to touch and feel its environment. The sensors catch particles of decaying meat, notifying the meat snake that there is food nearby. This process shares many similarities to regular snakes, hence the meat snake's name.
Yeah, it's almost like a tongue and a proboscis. It's like a sensory frickin', like a frickin' overload sensor or whatever you want to call it. I'm running out of words here. I haven't had coffee, but you know what I mean. It's scary to think about if these creatures actually existed, we'd be screwed. Like, we seriously were. That's only if they were able to eat healthy, specimens, not dead or dying or anything else. But that'd be terrifying to think about.
Once it locates the corpse, the meat snake will open its jaw and swallow the entire body whole. Once the entire body is consumed, the meat snake's stomach will release a variety of chemicals. Some will break down soft tissue like skin and the connection points between muscles. Others chemicals will then ferment and preserve the tissue to keep it from breaking down for as long as possible. After that, the remaining flesh and bones will move along the meat snake's tract and slowly be implemented into its own structure, extending the meat snake. Unsatisfactory parts like skulls, pelvises, hair, and fingernails will be excreted. Speaking of skulls, the meat snake will take the skull from the consumed organism and use it as its own. Each meat snake has
I could not, excuse me, I could not, with all good conscience, and I know people are going to get pissed off at me because I'm pausing it, so what? It's just something I want to talk about. Imagine for an instance, right? You see a 16 to 24 foot long, however long these goddamn meat snakes come out to be, right? And instead of just being a flat face, you see like a cow's skull sticking out of it, or you see like a deer's skull with antlers sticking out of it, and you see that thing just kind of like jovially looking right at you, just looking right at you. It won't eat you, but the terrifying thought of it just like kind of towering its neck up at you, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know if it's going to eat me or not. That would be the most downright terrifying thing of all time. Of all time, of that scale, frickin' doing that.
its own skull, each corresponding to what that one has consumed. During its lifespan, it will swap or replace these skulls if needed.
I rest my case. I rest my case.
A meat snake's lifespan depends entirely on how much a meat snake consumes. The longest one has lived for was 28 years. The meat snake has no predators and is immune to disease due to its preserving chemicals. The only significant ways a meat snake can die is through starvation, burning, or complete destruction of the meat snake's membrane coating. Interestingly, the meat snake is the only member of the Carnis family that is able to reproduce. When a meat snake reaches an excessive size, and is in the conditions to do so, it will commence mitosis, splitting itself in two, and the now two meat snakes will go on their separate ways and live on as two distinct organisms. Meat snakes can only be found in moderate temperature climates, not too hot, not too cold. Their population depends entirely...
What do you mean Africa's not too hot, not too cold? From what I'm understanding, it's really hot in Africa. It's very humid. So, and it's also very dry heat as well. So I don't know why it would be in Africa. The United States, for the most part, the whole upper northwest region, Canada, most parts of Europe that don't get that hot. Yeah, I could see it doing that. Like I said, imagine seeing this thing coming at you with either a human face, a cow skull, a deer skull, and it's just looking at you. It'd be the most terrifying thing to ever think about. I'd be running. I'd be going Mach 5 going down that runway. It's just, that's terrifying to think about. And they're immune to frickin' diseases, so mildly convenient on that one. Imagine if that thing frickin' was in like a war-torn area and there was a whole bunch of chemicals and shit that killed all these human beings. It'd be having a buffet. This thing would be massive. It would almost look like the damn frickin' Sentinel of Dead Space 1, the final boss. It would probably be that size. That'd be terrifying to think about.
On the amount of corpses available. Where there is death, there are meat snakes. Humanity will use them to our advantage. Meat snakes are a very efficient and clean way of disposing of any meat products. The preserving fluid within the meat snake's body disinfects the carrion, preventing the spread of disease. Humans use meat snakes in butcher shops as a waste bin, dispose roadkill, within war on the battlefield to dispose of festering bodies and parts, and within zoos to dispose of deceased animals.
I guess that's one way of doing
They
it.
are extremely tame, not caring if any creature is around them, only acting defensively when it is within consuming a meal. This means they are very easy to tame. Overall, meat snakes are a marvelous creature with a very interesting way of sustaining itself. It is an amazing experience to encounter one, as long as you don't mind the smell.
That's terrifying. I told you, just the deer skull, the cow skull, the human skull, just either one of those things just looking right at you, I'm good. I'm hard passing on that one, my guy.
Our next creature is the mimic.
Oh, God.
The mimic. The mimic is a bipedal creature with uncanny similarities to humanoid anatomy. They greatly resemble humans without skin, with added exaggerated features. These features include extended finger length, longer limbs, bulging, empty eyes, and their most prominent feature, a wide, teeth-filled smile. Although it resembles a happy face, this is due to coincidence, and is only how their facial structure is shaped. The maw of the mimic contains much more teeth than humans, and their teeth is comprised almost entirely of incisors, with some canine and premolars in the back. This tooth composition is ideal for biting down onto meat and swallowing Chuck's whole.
Let's go back just one more frame. Imagine you're walking home, right? And I'm thinking mimics like D&D, Dark Souls, little chests, you know. They're intelligent beings. But you're seeing this thing at night, right? And this thing's just looking at you with that big old toothy grin. How are you going to fight it? I wouldn't know. If it's meant for literally tearing chunks of flesh off of you, that's terrifying. Now here's a bigger question. Does it frickin' like take over the identity of the person that it consumes? Does it gain its memories? Does it gain their past experiences? Like, that's the kind of things I'm more worried about. People getting killed by these things. Fictional creatures, I'm just saying. This is what it is. It's a fictional creature. I'm just saying. Hypothetically, that'd be terrifying to think about. Probably 6-7 feet tall, elongated fingers. I'm going to hard pass on that. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but imagine seeing this face in the middle of the night. What are we going to do? What could you do?
Ideal for biting down onto meat and swallowing Chuck's whole. A mature mimic's diet is comprised entirely of human flesh. Because of this, they are found solely around human-populated areas. The mimic's life cycle is made of 3 stages. In the first stage, a young mimic separates from the crawl. They closely resemble their trimming relatives, but are thin, sleek, and only have 4 appendages. In this stage, the young mimic will hunt small animals, moving on to larger and larger as they grow.
Makes
Once
sense.
large enough, it will begin metamorphosis into the next stage of life. Once fully transformed, it will resemble the description mentioned in the beginning. Its hunting style changes and becomes much.
I'm not trying to pause it too much. Imagine you just going to the bathroom or something, like at a KOA or something, and you see this guy right here, right in the frickin' reflection of the mirror, or right outside the window. You're walking past it, and you see it just sitting there. I could barely see its beady eyes. It's right there. Just imagine that. That's terrifying. I'm good.
More complicated. It now stalks and feeds only on humans. It will locate human-populated area and begin its search for an easy target. To blend in, it may use objects to conceal itself. These include clothing, mannequins, and furniture. Once a target has been found, the mimic will observe its prey and learn its routine and when it is most vulnerable. This is typically when the human is asleep at night. Once the prey is within position, the mimic will advance silently until it is close enough. The mimic will then execute and immediately begin consumption. Once the mimic has had its fill, it will leave the scene, a fair distance away from the human population, and begin to digest its meal. Although, In the case that a human is awake, a mimic will use a variety of sounds to either lure or startle prey into cornering themselves. Once a human is in place, it will swiftly attack and kill the helpless target.
Oh, great. There's a video of this. This is just going to be even better. Oh, don't do the... Oh, you're doing the closet thing. Oh, my God, dude. I'm getting real nervous right here. This is terrifying to think about. Oh, dude, nope. You're done for, my guy. You're done for. Oh, my God. No. No. Oh, yep. I'm good. I just did. God, I wasn't expecting that. I was waiting for something else. That one trailer, I'm not gonna lie, that one video reminded me of two things. It reminded me of Attack on Titan with the beady eyes, with the giant toothy grin. It reminded me of like the old 1986 Night of the Living Dead, where the zombie comes out of the barrel with the big, just beady eyes. That's what it reminded me of, and it's terrifying to think about, because if you had something like that coming after you, I mean, what could you do against something like that? For all intents and purposes, that thing was over 6 feet tall. I'm only assuming because of the closet height. And they're fast. They're not slow. They're smart. They watch what you do and your behavioral traits and your daily routine, stalking you. And that's what's even more terrifying about them. What are you going to do against that?
The next stage of a mimic's life cycle has two potential morphs it may develop into. If a mimic has a consistent supply of food, it will develop more human-like features. It will grow skin, hair, and by the end will look nearly identical to a human being. It now can blend entirely into civilization and lure other humans more effectively.
That's terrifying to think about as well, because imagine you're going home with a guy or girl, and then all of a sudden they're just pouring you a drink, and then all of a sudden they turn around, their skin peels back, and they look like it's a giant mouth. Terrifying to think about. I wouldn't imagine that. Perfect camouflage for reeling in unexpected prey. It's terrifying.
The second type of morph happens when a mimic receives an overabundance of food. It will grow into a larger, more evolved hunter. Its proportions will increase in length, and its humanoid features will fade away. It grows a thick, dark coating of a flexible skin, which is highly durable, and increases in strength the more the elder mimic consumes. This excludes the face, which is now coated in a pale pink skin.
Imagine seeing that when you're trying to go to your outhouse, and that thing's like 6-7 feet tall, just looking at you going, yeah, come over here. Come over here. I want you to come over here.
The mimic's teeth have also moved deeper into the mimic's throat, leaving its mouth a toothless grin. It uses the dark hue of its skin to hide seamlessly within a dark environment. Its skills have also been heightened. This makes an elder mimic one of the most efficient predators on the planet. Because of the obvious threat this poses on humanity, nations around the world have released instructions on how to be able to fend for yourself in a mimic encounter. Here are the instructions.
1. Avoid going out alone if your location is known to have mimics, or there have been mimic sightings. 2. If you encounter a stationary mimic, seemingly unfazed by your presence, quietly leave the location and alert your local authorities. 3. If pursued by a mimic, get yourself into a position where you are able to flee. Mimics will rarely attack if a person has a clear escape route. 4. In the event that you have been cornered by a mimic, roll into the fetal position, protecting your neck, face, and vital organs from attack. Make as much noise as you can to alert any other people. 5. If you have a weapon, do not use it. A mimic is fairly resilient, and any strikes or shots on a mimic is not effective enough to bring it down in time.
That's terrifying to
Instead,
think about.
use it as a barrier between you and the mimic to block any attacks.
But you just said it's fairly resilient, because if you're going to go and try and attacking the thing in defense of yourself, and say it's going to try lunging at you, hit it with a bat, it's not going to hurt it. You're going to just wear yourself out faster. So, the first one was smart. Don't go out at night by yourself if there's mimic sightings. 2, if there is a mimic and it's unfazed by you, it's probably just got done eating something, unless it has like a bottomless pit like a skinwalker, or not a skinwalker, but a wendigo or something. Then yeah, you'd be kind of in trouble about that. The third one is, mimics don't hunt people that have a clear escape way. I don't see why they wouldn't if they're opportunistic freaking hunters, making the prey feel like there's an easy way out. And 4, the fourth one makes kind of sense because you are trying to protect yourself. However, that thing's going to beat you no matter what, and it is very, very smart to let anyone else know if they're awake or not, saying, "Hey, there's a mimic in the building." Kind of important for you to know. I'm going to die, but at least gives you a chance to, make haste and get out of the building. Very smart idea.
6. In a situation where a mimic is hunting in the immediate area and is not aware of your position, hide somewhere low, like under a bed or behind other furniture. A mimic will not linger too long to search for prey and will move on.
Be safe, and avoid any encounters with a mimic at all costs. Next up, the Harvester.
Harvester, huh?
The Harvester. The Harvester is a large, bulbous mass, with a large amount of tendrils spreading from the base. The bulb measures around 3 meters in height and 2 meters in diameter.
It's pretty big.
The tendrils, on the other hand, can extend up to 150 meters in diameter horizontally. The Harvester is a specialized form of crawl that grows in a unique and deadly way. A harvester is created when a node that will grow into a harvester, instead of separating, continues to grow. Eventually, it will grow tendrils of its own. It uses the energy provided by its mother branch and expands its reach further. Its tendrils, hidden just below the surface of the ground.
That's not terrifying to think
The
about.
harvester is equipped with 2 types of specialized tendrils. The first type is bulky and flat. They lie the closest to the surface.
That would be terrifying to think about. Now you got to think about this. This is a very, very smart plant. If it's very, very smart the way I'm thinking about it. Seeing that, I'm only assuming that all the animals underneath in a however wide radius are already dead. That's what I'm thinking about. And if it doesn't go after small animals, then hey, great. But if it's after larger game, that'd be a very smart thing to do. We'll find out what it does. I don't know what these things do. They look painful as all shit. They look like a freaking bear trap or something.
These branches are lined on each length of the tendril with spines, extending in the shape of a bear trap.
Okay, there you
On
go.
each side of the branch, those particular spines have a vein that feed into them, that pump 2 types of venom. On one side, the spines can inject a neurotoxin, which will attack the nervous system of whomever it is injected into, causing sudden paralysis. The other side can inject an anticoagulant, which when injected, prevents blood cells from clotting.
So it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking at? So it'll paralyze you, and then it also has like a venom like a Komodo dragon's, which is like a blood thinner, which won't let you freaking, your bleeding won't stop, and it'll get infected. That's terrifying. That's just terrifying for a little bulbous thing to do that. Whoever, the guy who came up with this, the gentleman of Darian Quilloy, hats off to you for originality, man.
Whenever a large animal moves across the area armed with these tendrils, the branches will clamp onto the animal and thrash violently. Once the prey has been injected with both venoms, the tendrils will rest and the prey will immediately collapse. The animal will be unable to move due to the paralysis, and the wounds caused by the thrashing spines will not stop bleeding. All the prey can do is lie patiently, until succumbing to blood loss.
Damn.
Once the prey has bled out, the second type of tendrils come in. They lie below the spine equipped once. These branches are thick, but very sturdy. They share similar anatomy to the small branches of the crawl, equipped with organelle that absorbs nutrients. These tendrils sense the blood, and move their way to the surface and begin to absorb the vital fluid. Once the blood has been consumed, the tendrils will wrap around the body and begin to shuffle downwards. This movement loosens the soil and slowly pull the body underground.
Jesus.
Once secure, the tendrils will continue to feed until there is nothing but scraps. The nourishment absorbed by the tendrils will be sucked back into the main bulb of the harvester. This bulb houses all the vital organs and the venom glands that pump into the spines. The nutrients are then converted into usable energy. The remains underground decompose, providing a rich soil, causing very prominent plant growth, which then attracts more animals. A strange behavior the harvester displays is its choice of diet. The spines will only activate on larger animals, allowing smaller ones to pass by unaffected.
I mean, it makes sense. You're trying to get the most nutrients out of that. That's, again, it shows signs of intelligence, which is even more terrifying. Instead of calling the harvester, I would call it the brain. That's what I would call it.
The spines will also not activate on some species of bird. There are a couple theories as to why this happens. One, it could be that attacking smaller animals would cost too much energy for what they get in return, making it not worth the time. Another could be that smaller animals may attract larger animals or predators, allowing a safe place where prey may thrive and lure more predators. It truly is astonishing. Although it is a spectacular creature, it is also very dangerous. The harvester is decently rare, only populating sparse areas in the northern hemisphere and woodland forests. If you are stung by a harvester, there will be no way of helping you, being that there is no cure, and fatality is 100% positive. The best thing you can do is avoid encountering a harvester in the first place. If you are hiking, take note of any warnings or signs saying that there are harvesters around. If you also notice an abundance of lush, ground-dwelling plants in a forested area, and there are no signs of wildlife, this is suspicious and you should leave the area, staying close to the base of large trees or rocks. If you find yourself in the middle of a harvester ground, do not panic. Sudden movements may activate the tendrils and will inject you. Although a harvester is rather forgiving, do not risk any skittish movements. Remain calm. If you have any objects with considerable heft, like coats, backpacks, or full water bottles, gently take that object and lightly toss it towards the bulb, and away from your escape route. This will activate the spines on where the object lands, distracting the bulb for a moment. You will then slowly begin to do wide shuffles away from the bulb. If possible, throw another object when you are certain you are a fair enough distance away, just to be safe.
That's actually probably some of the best advice and also some of the worst advice depending on the weather. Now, if I could survive cold weather like snow, I'd probably just throw the backpack and be thankful that I got out alive. If you start throwing away heavier clothes, you're going to freeze or you're going to start sweating and then you deal with hypothermia. I'm getting too technical in this. This is all made up anyway, but you know what I mean by that.
Continue until you are completely sure you are out of harm's way. You may come out unscathed, but don't be too obnoxious, or you will be a harvester's next meal.
I like the warning on that.
Next up is the host.
The host. Okay.
The host of influence. The host of influence, more commonly referred to as the host, has its name derived from a host who invites guests to an event. Not to be confused with a host, a harborer of parasites or disease. The host is a semi-humanoid looking organism. It has the structure of a head, torso, and arms. Other than this, it shares no other characteristics. The lower half of the host is comprised of a mass of fibrous tissue and tendrils that burrow into the ground to hold the host in place. Instead of skin, the host is covered in muscular tissue fibers. tendons, and veins. In some parts of the body are covered in a meaty plate, used to cover any large exposed areas, but
Are they able to move at all? That's my big question.
allowing movement. The host's head has a smooth surface where the face should be, attached to a crooked neck, which houses a slit in the front used for feeding. On the host's back is a mound of pores. Protruding from these pores are hollow, hair-like structures, extending outwards. These hairs are barrels that release spores produced within host's body by being fired into the air. These spores are hazardous, so keep clear of them at all costs. Luckily, the host is rare, only found in North America. Obtaining info about the host is a very risky and daunting task. This is because of their rarity and of how dangerous it is to be up close to one. The spores released by a host is very dangerous when inhaled. A host will release a cloud of spores into the air, which will be picked up by wind and carried great distances. If an organism inhales the spores, the particles will find their way into the organism's brain and infect them. An infected organism will show no symptoms of infection right away, but a couple hours after infection the infected organism's behavior and thought process will change. The first symptoms that appear are restlessness, sluggish movement, numbness of joints, and lack of coordination. Then more serious symptoms appear over time. These include dizziness, migraines, impaired speech, and trembles. If you, or someone you know show these symptoms, contact poison control or emergency services. After a total of 6 to 7 hours after infection, the organism will cease all activities they were previously doing and begin to walk. The direction the infected will walk is towards the host whose spores have been inhaled by the infected individual. If the infected makes their way to the host, they will kneel down in front of it, expose their vital organs, and the host will promptly gut and remove those organs. The host will consume them and discard the leftover scraps. However, if an infected organism doesn't reach the host within a 36-hour span or is treated for their infection, the effects will wear off and return back to normal.
Well, that's good. It's only temporary.
If a host is unable to find prey or doesn't like its current location, it will unroot itself and move to a new location.
Oh, okay. That's not terrifying. I can understand why they say it's rare to find a photo of it because it releases spores. It's almost like cordyceps fungus off The Last of Us or an actual real life for insects and stuff. And I also really do like the fact that there is only a temporary thing of like if you stay in your house, lock all the doors, you have someone trying to stop you from leaving to find the host, and within 36 hours you're back to normal. I like that. That's only a temporary thing, but you can see that it's almost like cordyceps fungus where it releases a plume of spores to control the host's brain temporarily. It's terrifying to think about. And on top of that, it has a bunch of armor plating, almost like a bloater off of The Last of Us. So it's terrifying to think about seeing something like that in the forest, and it could just uproot and then move at will. So it's just terrifying. It really is. Everyone's like, oh, it can't be that terrifying. I don't know who everyone is, but anyone who thinks like that, you're wrong. That'd be terrifying.
Their scarce numbers and the hazard of being around one makes getting info about the host very daunting.
There you go.
All you need to currently know is that the host is extremely dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. Next, the monoliths.
Monoliths. Okay.
The monoliths. The monolith is a very new creature, only showing up in June of 1972, in the area of...
Wow, that was
There
loud.
are only
Okay.
7 monoliths, all of them located in a circular position, 1.5 kilometers in diameter. This ring of monoliths surrounds... The monolith is a Titanic-sized being, measuring roughly 120 meters in height. Each monolith has 2 trunk legs that are firmly embedded on...
Those are trunk legs of a monolith. Are you kidding me right now?
The legs connect to a torso. The creature itself is made of hundreds of thousands of meaty strands, tightly woven together to
fix
form
that
the
again.
structure. These strands end at the neck. fusing into a solid mass of hardened flesh in the shape of an upside-down triangle, with a hole in its center. On each side of the monolith where arms would be, there are dozens of long, rope-like appendages. These reach just barely to the ground. At the creature's feet, the strands go deep into the earth and extend horizontally a decent distance away. What the monoliths do is simply stand and do nothing.
It kind of doesn't make any sense how they're just standing there doing nothing, though.
The only activity documented that the monoliths have done was in during this.
So it's all redacted. It's all redacted. That's all it is. I gotta move this one more time. One more time. Sorry about that. All right. Everything's just redacted. That's all it's saying. So everything, that loud beeping sound, it's redacted.
Period. They were extremely aggressive. When the group of were making their way to the city, the monolith that they had passes roared a deep bellow and swung its appendages at the team, completely wiping them out. When military vehicles were dispatched, once they got close enough top the monolith, it roared another call, this time releasing an EMP blast.
Oh, they do that
completely
too.
knocking the vehicles
Great.
out in the vicinity. Finally, long-distance rockets were fired and struck the creature.
Are you gonna show it? Okay.
Although damaged, it regenerated at great speed and resumed its stance unscathed. Eventually, the area has been fenced off and is now restricted to all. Ever since, the monolith stands silently, now only a grand spectacle of awe and mystery, only adding more questions to these meat beings. And finally, the last creature on this list is...
Okay.
The singularity is an orb comprised of a dark-colored mineral with hints of luminous colors within its core. The singularity is estimated to be 1 meter in diameter. The orb has several unique qualities that are not well understood. The singularity typically can be found suspended in air by an unseen force. There are also a variety of reading that has been documented coming from the orb itself. Various things like magnetic fields, energy signatures, and other pattern-like signals released by the singularity. The population of these creatures is unknown. Almost all info about the singularity is hidden or confiscated by officials. We were only able to receive one classified document about the singularity being held by...
Redacted.
marvelous and majestic world that exists today, it's as extraordinary to have such strange and mysterious beings appear all around us. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery of the lives of these living meat creatures.
So my question is the singularity in the center where all the monoliths are at? And if you get too close, that's when they start acting up and everything? Like, I like that there's a lot of comparisons to a lot of different shows and a lot of different things that are on here, and I really do like that. I like the fact that it's very believable how Darian Quilloy made it so believable that it's like, okay, well, the government could cover this up. I mean, I don't know how you would cover it with 7 giant monoliths, but it would be terrifying to think about if stuff like that, each individual subspecies was actually real. So it gives you something to think about if it was real or not. But again, it's all made up, and it was very scary just to think about it. Not try being too over analytical, not trying to talk too much, excuse me, during the whole entire video. But it's something to think about. It's terrifying to think about, especially the mimics and the elder mimics. Those were probably the 2 scariest things I've ever seen. So, but including the video. But if you guys enjoyed my reaction, my commentary, my 2 cents on the whole thing, and you want to share it with your friends and family, give them what they want to think. I'll also leave the original video in the description box down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And as always, I'm Mystic from Mystical Tomes. Hit the like, subscribe, bell notification, all that good stuff, so you'll be up to date on all new content. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.